Hello everyone, this is Caduce Campbell for thebuttonsmashers.com and this is our review for Utawarerumono Mask of Deception. So, what's this game about? Well, Utawarerumono Mask of Deception is a game loosely similar to the anime Utawarerumono no Kamen. I say loosely because though the anime and the game share a similar plot, the game diverges a bit along the way in an effort to tell a more refined, compelling story. A task that I am happy to say it does quite well. The game's plot begins with a young man in a hospital gown who finds himself in the middle of nowhere with no memory of who he is or how he got there. Before he can process his current situation properly, he's attacked by a giant arthropod creature and is forced to escape by running. Through a series of fortunate events, he's eventually saved by a young lady with some sort of animal ears and a tail named Kuon. Kuon names him Haku and takes responsibility for being his guardian. Though Kuon may be petite in stature, she, like a lot of other people Haku meets in this world, is a lot more capable than him with regards to stamina, strength and other physical aspects. As for Haku, he is an apathetic character, but through the internal monologues, of which there are many, he's shown to be a lot more caring even though he does not express it as much to others. Kuon, on the other hand, is very capable, funny, and perverted. Yup, she's the pervert in the story, not the bloke. As for the story progression, the two meet other characters who I must say were all compelling in their own right. Even the minor background characters were polished enough to sell the believability of the plot. This quality of storytelling is compelled by strong writing and it's even more spectacular audio. The audio in the game is its standout appealing factor. The timing of every soundbite is well done that you'll struggle to pull yourself away from the game, if and only if you are a fan of reading. If you're not, I'll let you know right now that this game is just not for you. Utawarerumono Mask of Deception is a visual novel first and an SRPG second, which is why anyone planning to play this game better be prepared to do an inordinate amount of reading. As mentioned before, the game does have SRPG aspects, but they are not the primary focus of the game. The story is. This is not to say that the SRPG sections suffer because of it. No. In fact, the SRPG sections are quite well done, but they are separated by long segments of compelling visual novel goodness, consisting of very descriptive text, spot-on sound effects, and compelling Japanese voice acting. During these sections, the player is able to save, check backlogs if they miss any text, change settings, skip sections, something I do not recommend if it's your first time playing the game, and check a large glossary of information. Oh, I think I'm missing something. Ah yes, the anime. Remember how I mentioned the anime before? About it having differences with the game? Well, let's just say those differences are there because they are two very different types of mediums, which are usually consumed by different types of people. For one, anime tends to be roughly about 20 to 30 minutes per episode, with 12 episodes per season. This adds a certain kind of limitation to a story, in that animators have to fit a lot of information in a limited amount of time, all the while keeping it enjoyable and cohesive for the viewers. The anime exceeds in this department by not exploring as much aspects of the plot as the game, but by focusing more on the humor and fan service aspects. As for the game, well, it plays by different rules. A game can be as long as it needs to be, or as long as the developer's budget can afford. A visual novel is the type of game that tells a story in the same way as a book does, by giving us a lot of perspective via use of text, images, and character portraits. The best games in this particular genre tend to be so well written that players can visualize everything that the developers want them to as clear as if they were watching it happen right in front of them. Utawarerumono Mask of Deception achieves this astoundingly well. It paints a much more vivid image of the world by exploring situations in much more detailed ways than its anime counterpart. I wish I could praise the writing even more, but that would not serve the purpose of this review, would it? So let's talk about the other aspects of the game, particularly the SRPG aspects. During the game, characters will be presented with a multitude of different confrontations, which you will be required to complete in a strategetic manner, similar to games like Summer Nights and God Wars Future Past. The gameplay isn't too complex, but it's not mundane either. It has some unique features like the ability to rewind time and some familiar ones like being able to check enemy range and abilities. Characters move along a grid-based system where they are able to move during their turn to areas highlighted in blue, then attack enemies in areas highlighted in red, or heal or buff allies on areas highlighted in green. Each character's individual turn is decided by their speed or SPD attribute, so faster characters attack before slower ones. The attack system uses a timed input to chain attacks as well as issue critical damage, extra turns, and status ailments, but it's not required. Players can avoid using the time input system if they do not wish to do so. The battles are easy enough, especially if you have the 2 Hearts 2 Dungeon Travelers DLC characters we got with the review copy of the game. This is also not the most complex SRPG battle system I've experienced. It's simple enough that anyone should be able to get a hang of it while being engaging enough to appease to most SRPG fans. Some fans of SRPGs may find it a bit too simplistic and try to discredit the game because of that, but need I remind those of you with that kind of mindset that this game's primary focus is its plot, and it does this via its visual novel aspects, which have been polished to perfection. Graphically, the game looks good on both the PlayStation Vita and PS4. It uses a mixture of character portraits, images of scenery, and other images during the visual novel sections. If you're familiar with visual novels, then this will feel very similar. As for the SRPG segments, they use a 3-dimensional environment with very detailed 3D models for each of the characters. Putting these two styles together, we get a game that should feel familiar and visually appealing to fans of both genres that make up this game. Fans of the anime may notice some artistic differences, but I think visually the game gets the look of the characters better than the anime, but not by much. Okay, so including all the previous things I've said about the game, this is my final verdict. Usually when I do these reviews, I save the later sections of them for mentioning aspects of the game that didn't work. But this game has none of those. For me, it is arguably perfect. The writing and audio created such a great atmosphere that it gripped my attention and kept it throughout. Yes, it may not be a game that all gamers may fancy, but what game is? At the end of the day, Utawarerumono Mask of Deception is a splendid visual novel experience married to a solid SRPG. If you're a fan of visual novels and have a PS Vita or a PS4, then you owe it to yourself to get this game. It's that good. SRPG fans and fans of other genres will need to decide if all the reading of text is something that they are prepared to do, because that's the only way to properly enjoy this game, unless of course you understand Japanese. Thank you very much for watching this review. We hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked this review, make sure to leave us a like and a comment, and subscribe to this channel for more content like it.